Do you believe there is more to it than meets the eye about the circumstances around Jeffrey Epstein's death? The missing minute in the video. Do you really think there's something there?
I absolutely don't think Jeffrey would have ever killed himself. He was too much of a narcissist and a predator and evil to take his own life. And I've studied every photograph of him from the autopsy report to the molars on his teeth. I've compared photographs of the deceased images to images of him when he was alive, and it's definitely the same person. I thought at first maybe this is some Hollywood makeup that we're looking at, but when I compared the teeth, the molars, to what we saw on the autopsy table, I knew that was him. So he definitely died, just to get rid of that conspiracy theory that he may be out there living his life in some island and he got away with it. I don't think that's true. I think he definitely died, but I don't think he would have ever killed himself. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
But Reena, you've also sued some people who said that you were actually working on his behalf to get more people in. How do you deal with that accusation?
That's not true. I know it's not true. I interviewed with the Department of Justice. They told me that that's not how they perceive me. They said I was nothing but a victim. I wasn't a recruiter or anything else. People have their opinions. You know, I wasn't liked by a lot of the girls when I came out. Some of the girls told me that there's no way that you can be a Jeffrey Epstein victim because you're not blonde and you don't have blue eyes and you're not white. I've had a lot of girls say that to me. They said he had one type and they were young, beautiful, blonde, blue-eyed girls. They're white girls. You can't be an Epstein victim. So I was villainized just, based on race, number one. And then number two, there was this whole other, this other, crossing me off the potential victims list as, well, you weren't a minor. So there's no way you could have been a victim because you weren't, you were over 18. So you're not a victim as a result of that. Whatever he did to you, it's too bad you went back. So I've had people say all sorts of things to me, and it took me a very long time to come to this place and just look at them and stop getting defensive. And I'm just realizing they just don't know any better. They weren't there.
Sometimes, as Lisa said, the red flags are there right here, but you can't see them because you're dreaming about something else. And it's absolutely natural for somebody to fall for this. It's nobody's fault that it happens that way. It is human to make that mistake. But Reena, I come back to the point. Are you saying Jeffrey Epstein was murdered?
I'm not exactly sure if that's the right word I would use for, he could have asked someone, I don't want to be here anymore. He could have maybe bribed someone in the prison and asked to just take care of it. We don't know, but I just don't think he used bed sheets and did it to himself. I studied the pictures. Using the word murder, then I'm throwing out another accusation. I don't want to start attacking our government and maybe even feeding into conspiracy theories. But like I said earlier, I don't think he is the type of person that would have killed himself.
Reena, a lot of your art that I've seen, there are linkages to Epstein. There are, Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, some of these things. Does this have a message?
It doesn't necessarily have a message. I'm a studious person, and I like studying subjects. Before I piece together, like Lisa said, we're going to put our own puzzle pieces together and come up with our own conclusion, whether it's the truth or not. We'll leave it up to the public to decide. As an artist, those are studies that I made of those people.
Any relation to the Jeffrey Epstein controversy, if you can call it that, purely coincidental?
Oh, yes. Absolutely, because this was in the news, and this is around the time that I was thinking about talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and all of this was coming out. And before I make a major decision like this, I'm going to study and absorb the information. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to put all the data in front of me. So I was just putting data in front of me. And for me, a way of processing is through artwork.
Great. What next, Rena, in the end? Just what next? What do you want? What do you think should happen?
In terms of what do I want for myself, or what do I want for the rest of the case? About the case, I think we want to see the next trove of information, but before we see it, I want to take a step backward and look at what we have so far and maybe make a certain demand. I know there's a demand for a client list, and the government has already said no. Perhaps we need to become more diplomatic in the way we approach it the second time and negotiate on how we're going to extract or get parts of this list or the whole list, or perhaps we should not call it the client list anymore. Let's rebrand this and call it his friends list, his best friends list. Maybe that sounds a little less threatening than a client list, because then automatically you'll be criminally charged, right? Let's take away the criminal charges, and later on, if they are charged criminally, that may come down the road, but people want transparency. They're demanding that. So that's one thing they're demanding. And then let's study what we get from then forward and start asking. We won't get something unless we ask. But if we're asking for all the files to be released all at once, I think it's very easy for the government to say no. It's a lot of information. And, I think maybe the government website may even crash. I don't know. But I'm assuming there may be maybe 200 million pages of information. We don't know because we don't work for the Department of Justice. But Jeffrey collected information on every single person. There are a lot of rumors out there that he was part of the intelligence community. If he was, then he must have kept a file on every high-profile person that ever walked into that house. He definitely kept a profile of all the girls. So he knew things about me that only someone who followed me or tailed me would know. And that really creeped me out. This is going back 20 years ago.
What you're saying
is he said certain things to me while punishing me one time. And I was really surprised that he had that information.
Punishing you? Like how?
Like in a physical way, I was being punished.
I think I have to agree with Rena. I think a lot of what they're holding back on is because the American public probably isn't ready for what's in those files, and releasing it little by little would be probably the best idea. I don't think that you could just release all the files and then just everyone go at it, and it's just going to be crazy. I think they need to be sensitive with, if they're going to release it, be sensitive with the material and keep a lot of the victims' information private. I just don't know if they would do that. I mean, I've been deposed for a couple cases, and I definitely don't want my information out there. So, for me, I just want to support survivor voices and continue doing that. And, we'll strategize and do the best that we can moving forward. But, things are changing every week, every day practically. So we have to figure that out.
I want to add.
Yes,
sorry. I just want to say.
A very interesting point that you said, that if he was part of the intelligence network and that's what he really may have kept and stored, and those files may exist, that information may exist. Don't you want that information to be out there to arm some of those potential victims and keep them out of harm's way?
I think if he had wanted to harm the victims, he would have harmed us already. I think he harmed us enough. The hell that he put us in, that is the worst thing he could have done. If he wanted to harm us physically, it would have happened a long time ago when we were starting to speak out before he died.
But you said the evil continues.
What's that?
You said the evil continues.
The evil continues, and it's the mental anguish, it's the spiritual pain and breaking our spiritual bones, not physically, but spiritually. That is the true evil of Jeffrey that no one really talks about, is that this man, did not love anything but himself. He did not love God. There was no God. He thought he was a God. And putting us in this spiritual darkness. So what I want ultimately is to completely come out of that, to, come into the light, to heal, and collectively all of the victims of Jeffrey, I want them to heal collectively. I think the more of us when we're together, like I felt it yesterday, I felt this healing energy amongst us, and it was very powerful, and that's what brought such a big smile to my face. It was the first time I actually smiled, when I heard his name. We were smiling, we were laughing, and we need more moments like that. And the best way to survive and come out of all of this is to move on with our lives and be happy again. Put that smile back in our face that he took away when we were in our 20s. We're mothers now. We have children, and we've grown. We've spent all these years not being our best selves, unknowingly. And I know for myself that I could have been there for my family, in many more ways. And he took that away, not just from me, but from my children.